This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
It's a goal! It's a goal! It's absolutely world class from Marcus Tunde!
Johnson puts it in the air. Aidan Flynn wins the goal! It's the goal! It's still with Lee Gregory. He's in the box, tries to screw it. Is it going to be there? Yes! Oh my word! The Wednesday week!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. It's me, Dan Fudge, talking to radio presenter and all-round nice guy with his big, sexy voice. It's Darren Harper at Chubby Ewok on the Twitters, or X as it's now known. And he's joining us to talk about the upcoming tie against Leeds United on Friday night in...
Hello from the other side.
The amount of people that's caught off guard this season has been my favourite thing. Like, you're not ready for it, are you? Like, what's going on here?
That's brilliant. Yeah, no, I wish I had thought of that one myself. I'm a big fan of a cheesy feature title. So yeah, big fan of that. That's great, Dan.
Listen, welcome to the show, Darren. Thanks a lot for joining us. I really appreciate your time. Coming up this weekend, as I said in the introduction, we've got Leeds United under the lights at Hillsborough. Leeds in absolute mega form right now, gone tearing up the league. I watched your game against Leicester City a couple of weeks ago, and sweet child of mine. Like, we played Leicester not long before that, and they didn't get out of second gear. They were just sublime. And the comeback that you guys did, I thought was absolutely incredible. And, well, it pissed me off, don't get me wrong. Like, you know what I mean? But there's an element of you guys at the top of the league can crack on. You know, I'm not interested in you lot. You know, I'm all about your Stokes, your QPRs, your Huddersfields, and your Plymouth Argyles. You know what I mean? That's all I really give a shit about. But tell us about the top of the league. Tell us about how you're feeling about how this season could potentially finish for you guys.
Well, I think it's probably one of the most competitive championships I've seen in a long time. And I think lots of Leeds fans are really, really enjoying the championship. After what was the last 2 years in the Premier League was pretty bad, just scraping in that second year. And then relegation the next year after that. My God, it was just 2 years of doing this podcast was just it was like therapy, I think, for most people. But it just wasn't enjoyable. And I got to be honest with you, I've really, really enjoyed it back in the Championship. And I think there's a lot of Leeds fans that are just really enjoying it. So whether or not they get promoted or not, yeah, it'd be lovely. Up in the Premier League again. Yeah, great. You get Manchester United and Man City, yeah. But I'm sort of like, I'm really quite enjoying this, actually. This is actually, and they're winning games, and it's all been very good. Do we want to go back to that again? I don't know, but I think that you look at the top of the Championship, and it's absolutely crazy because you've got Leicester, Leeds, Ipswich, Southampton, all absolutely flying for the most part through, and Ipswich have dipped down and come back up again. Southampton are doing it. Leeds, I think, had a bit of a wobble pre-Christmas and sort of over the Christmas break, but since the turn of the year, they've been just breaking records. And you look at the form, and Leeds are top of the form table over the last 20 games, 10 games, 5 games. They're sort of streets ahead of everybody. So it's good times, but how it's going to end up at the end of the season, I think there's a lot of Leeds fans looking at that final game, which is Southampton at home, and thinking, oh my God, could it all be down to that game? Maybe it will be. And it could be very, very interesting, that final game. But it's just been fun, Dan. The whole thing it's just fun. And whatever happens, it's just been a great laugh.
Well, I'm glad someone's enjoying themselves, because it's been bloody awful at the back end of this table. Yeah. But I tell you what, I don't mean to burst your bubble a bit, Darren, but there's this time a year ago, Sheffield Wednesday went on a 23 game, I think it was 23, 24, wasn't it? Unbeaten streak through League One, and it was around this time of year where the wheels started to fall off a bit. Fatigue kicked in, and we were losing to teams that we shouldn't have been losing to, and automatic promotion just kind of fell away, and we had to do what we did in the playoffs in order to secure promotion. Is fatigue? Is anybody looking a bit leggy?
Yeah, do you know what? I think you could see that in the game against Stoke. Realistically, Leeds should have been home and hosed against Stoke by half-time in any other game. But I think, the run of games that Leeds have had, and particularly sort of like the amount of away games that they had in a run, which is pretty much they were based in the West Country for about 5 games. And it was just an incredible amount of traveling. And, obviously the support of the fans is incredible. But, I think all of that does take a toll on the team after a while. And they had a pretty good run in the FA Cup, which added to the games. But, they're out of that now. So concentrate on the league. I think you could see in the game against Stoke that there was just a little bit of tiredness maybe coming through, and you just wonder. I mean, he's got a good squad, and he did sort of mix it up a bit on Tuesday. For first game, I think I've seen. Well, in fact, he started every game so far, Archie Gray, and that was the first game he didn't start. Mm-hmm. So you're just wondering if there's just a little bit of tiredness running through that squad. So it might not be the worst time to play Leeds right at the moment, because they came off the back of a draw against Huddersfield where they should have really beaten Huddersfield. They've got a 1-0 win against Stoke. So it's just, after the as you mentioned, the Leicester game, after the massive highs of that, it's sort of come back down to earth, I think, a little bit over the last couple of days and the last couple of games. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, how many games are left? 10, 11, something like that?
There aren't many.
There's not many games left now, but it's so tight at that top. It's ridiculous, really, when you look at the table at the top now, as he says, Googling and looking at the table.
Do you want me to vamp for you a little bit?
I've got it now. So Ipswich are in second at the moment with 78. Leeds in third on 76. According to this, with 36 games played. Southampton, who would play tonight, but they're not going to play, are they? Because there was a fire.
There's a big fire right next to the stadium. And I lived in Southampton for a number of years, and that building that's on fire has got things in it that would significantly make a fire worse. There's a lot of gas, a lot of pipes, a lot of things happening. Normally when you see things like that called off, you're like, come on, we'll be right. We're all Yorkshire, aren't we? And then, look, I know that building. Yep. I know you're pissed off, Preston fans. You were probably halfway down the M1, but turn back round, lads. Honestly, you don't want to go anywhere near it.
No, exactly. But you look at that top 4. I mean, West Brom in 5th on 59. So they're probably that's where the playoffs are starting. So it's really 2 from 4. With Southampton on 70. Let's say they win this game tonight, which when it gets replayed. So they're on 73. But then Leicester are only on 81 points now. So there's only 3 points between Ipswich and Leicester. So, and, we all thought that Ipswich would probably have a little bit of a tail off at some point, and they sort of did, and they've started to come back again. So difficult. And then that game last night they played, which was just, again, crazy against Bristol City, with, an own goal winning it for Ipswich at the end, which, it was devastating for Bristol City, because at the one point you're thinking Ipswich are going to lose this. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's tumultuous times, I think, and that's why I love this league. Anybody can beat anybody, and the fact that Ipswich have absolutely torn away in this league, given the given the 3 teams that have come down from the Premier League with yourselves, Leicester and Southampton, for Ipswich to crash that party from League One is more than impressive. As much as it annoys me that they're doing it with George Hurst and Massimo Luongo in the ranks, you know what I mean. But you kind of go, yeah, fair. That's what happens when you get a good coach in. You know what I mean? Yeah. But you're like moving forward then. So in terms of, I still think Ipswich will tail off. Do you not feel like they will? Or
I think they've still, I thought when they went off like an absolute train, didn't they? First half of the season. And then they did start to tail off and drop down a bit. They've started to pick it up again now. And I just sort of think, if you're looking at the top four, they're probably the team you think we've got a couple of losses maybe in them. But I think it's so tough to tell because I think anybody could beat anybody up there on the day, really. So I there's like a fag paper between all of them at the moment. So, and that's, it makes it very, very exciting. There's no doubt about that. And if you're a neutral,
it's exciting for the other people outside the league. That's it. That's who it's exciting for. So, with Friday being a local derby, and I grew up with this fixture being a Premier League fixture, when I started watching football, and Christ, I remember a really tasty 2-2 draw at Hillsborough back in, I think Andy Booth got a couple that day. I love these games, and I love it when, because we give the away fans a proper away end. And there's always something about that noise that hits you when they've got one back and all the rest of it. And then that gets our fans up. And when Hillsborough's rocking, especially on a local derby, it's absolutely incredible. But as it stands, given the close proximity of you guys to promotion and us on the verge of staying up in this league, given the start we've had, I need a local derby where all bets are off like a hole in the head right now. You know what I mean? Do you not feel like this is an unwelcome interruption to the run that both teams are on?
Yeah, I think because, they're two proper football clubs, aren't they? Sheffield Wednesday and Leeds United. There's so much history with both of the clubs. And I suppose anytime you have a local derby, any sort of like form or anything sometimes can go out the window. And I know it's an old cliche.
Yeah, I agree with it, though. I agree with it.
We look back to the game against Huddersfield, and obviously, Leeds dropped 2 points. But then you see how Huddersfield Town fans are taking that, and it's like they've won the Champions League. It's like incredible that they've got a draw. But it's a good result for them. Really, it's a better result for them than it is for Leeds. And I think if you come out with this on Friday night with a draw, that's a good result, really, from what could be very contentious. Because you look at when Leeds played Huddersfield earlier on in the season, and they absolutely gubbed them. So anything different, and now you've got a new manager. I think Yorkshire Derby, the fans will be right up for it. So I can understand you'd probably more be happy with something that's not so filled and fueled by passion, and just have an easy sort of like 3 points in front of you. I play Plymouth and Rotherham not Rotherham because I didn't fancy that game either. We only sneaked that 1-0. But I will make a note of absolutely gubbing somebody. Big fan of that phrase there. I'm going to steal that, Darren, if you don't mind. No problem at all.
I've got to ask you about Archie Gray. What is he? Third, fourth generation Leeds United? Like he's comes from a lineage of people that have played for the club. I mean, is he that good, or have we got some lily white tinted spectacles on?
I think at 17 years old, he is incredible. And I think there's obviously there's a lot of talk whenever the name Gray is mentioned, because of obviously his dad, but his great uncle in Eddie Moore. He was probably the most successful Gray. But Archie is it's quite a lot of Leeds fans that are saying, I wish he wasn't that good, because he is going to go for a lot of money and someone's just going to take him, because they're already sniffing around, and there's already sort of talk of Liverpool and Manchester City and all of these other clubs putting in ridiculous offers for him. And you just sort of think, at 17, you just sort of, Christ, how he is so good at that age is quite scary. And you just sort of think, well, crumbs, what's he going to be like in 3 years' time when he's 20?
And he's filled out a bit, and he's only 20. In 3 years' time, he'll be 20.
And I know we've seen sort of I know Birmingham, when they sold Jude Bellingham and they retired his shirt, and everybody was like,
laughed.
What the hell? And now you see, you're like, oh my God. I'm not saying he's up there with Jude Bellingham, but I'm saying that he could be one of England's best players. And I would not be surprised if I was Southgate, I would be thinking, No, just take him to the Euros. What the hell? How can it hurt? Yeah. What the hell? How could it hurt just having him in around it? Because I know Leeds fans are jumping up and down about him, but and it's absolutely right. He is incredible. I think, and so versatile in the way he can play. He's been chucked in at right back. He's chucked in at midfield. It just nothing phases the guy. And it's like when you are a kid and you have just like bags of confidence and like you're not scared of anything. That's him, and he's just got it. And long may it continue. Really. So yeah.
I'm really happy for you, Darren. You and your rate good player. I'm really happy for you. So this Friday, then, how do you think it's going to go down? Let's get a prediction in as well.
Okay. I know when we talked about it, they build these games up, and then I think you came out with a score prediction of 0-0. Do you know what? It could go that way, couldn't it? It could go to sort of like you build something like this up and it turns into like some sort of damp squib. But I think I'm a bit fearful of it from a Leeds point of view because they looked tired on Tuesday. And, it's a quick turnaround again to a Friday night game with all that comes with that, with being another local derby, passion. And I just sort of think, I think it'll be a tight game purely for the fact of Leeds will be tired. I'm not sure. I think it's going to be tight. And prediction wise, a very tight 14-12.
14-12. That's a solid one. Listen, Darren, thanks a lot, pal. What's the name of your show? LS11? Did I get that right?
That's the one.
Listen, give him a like and a follow, and stay in touch with all things Leeds United. Darren, thanks a lot, pal. Brace yourself for the theme tune again.